Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my master's project. I have no idea what this channel will be called, but for now it's my master's project information. So today in this last video of the series, I'm going to kind of conclude my project and I want to talk about my recommendations that I gathered in conclusion and final takeaways from my understanding from this whole project. This video I think will be kind of short. I don't think there's much more to say, but I wanted to kind of break it and so you wouldn't have a really long video. So just to kind of give context, and you can go back to my other videos, my project was to do a capacity assessment for a nonprofit that focuses on menstrual health and hygiene management, menstrual health education in Colombia. I did this project for about a year. It was part of my graduate program. After doing all of that research, field activities and research, I came to some recommendations. I think it's important for further learning of monitoring and evaluation practices, learning more about how to better monitor activities that are being done, how to evaluate them, how to learn from them, how to implement systems of learning. All of that can really benefit the organization. Some of these systems can be having some type of art-based activities for the young girls that are the participants, or thinking about something called most significant change methodology. The most significant change methodology is where you are looking at a lot of results that you're getting from your project, your workshops, and kind of focusing on the most significant one of all of those. For example, there's a workshop that is working on teaching English to young adults or to older adults. From that project, the goal is to teach English, but you're also seeing that there's all of these other benefits that the participants are getting. Maybe the most significant of all of those wasn't even the learning English, but it was the community building or learning about American culture. So then the most significant change is learning about American culture. That's a feedback that you're getting that you can then use to maybe change your strategy for your project. Another recommendation is researching effective strategies to further safe spaces. So from my observation and my research, I concluded that the organization is not only doing menstrual health education, they are also doing creating really strong safe spaces for these young girls, and a lot of whom are in very vulnerable situations. And so researching more effective strategies that further foster safe spaces and really continue to create those safe spaces. So creative program strategies with timelines. This is something that the organization is still working on to create. But I really wanted to kind of put it in writing and really say, have strategies and have timelines for them, because then you can really benchmark and know if you're doing what you want to be doing at this time, and you will also know when it's time to stop doing that and then move on to maybe another part of your strategy. For example, maybe you want to have a program strategy that is a year long, and in that year you're going to divide it into quarters. By having these timelines, maybe in one quarter you're going to do project development, so researching how to develop your project further. When that timeline is done, you then continue on to another part of your strategy that you want to focus on. Another recommendation is for family members and other stakeholders to be included in the male activities. So specifically for this organization that does menstrual health and hygiene management, the family members and other stakeholders, but most importantly family, they really support the girls' participation or lack of participation in this program. And so including them in the project strategy and also in the MEL, so in the monitoring and evaluation aspect, having parents give their feedback, having parents participate and give feedback of the workshop itself, feedback on what changes they're seeing in their daughters or their girls. All of that I think is really important to include in the male strategy, because I think not only because they'll give you feedback that you wouldn't see because you're not with the girls 24/7, but also because they are going to support your program. Another recommendation is to continue to adapt the tools that you already have. So maybe you have a logical framework that you're working on, continue to adapt it with time. The theory of change, narrative, and visuals. So if you have a theory of change narrative, but you need to maybe adapt it or clean it up, all of that is really important to continue to work on, because like I've said in other videos, theory of change is just a very important tool that's going to help guide you through everything, and it's going to help give other documents better shape. So some conclusions from this whole project and from this experience. I think one of the most exciting things that I found from my research is that the organization that I was researching was already sharing a lot of concepts that actually aligned with the literature.
Okay, so I'm going to try to explain it because I think I was having a difficult time doing the video. So, in the literature, I found information about how empowerment can be measured, and Kabir from 1999 explains that empowerment is a mix of resources, agency, and achievements. And these include gaining access to knowledge, attitudes, and preferences that will enhance the ability to exercise choice, increase participation, voice, negotiation, and decision-making skills. This resembles the organization's goal, which aims to increase life skills such as self-confidence and negotiation, positive inner voice, and self-advocacy. I found through my project that the organization was already working towards goals to support the development of these girls, and the focus of the goals are the same that are found in the literature when we are talking about empowerment, which is the mix of resources, agency, and achievements that include gaining access to knowledge, attitudes, and preferences. And I think this is really important for me to mention because the organization is working on these projects and isn't looking at literature. It isn't looking and reading academic literature. They are doing things that they found have worked and are working with other organizations, and they're learning from other people in the same menstrual health education field. But I think it's really important to back what they're doing with this academic literature that I found and kind of and talk about how they are on the right path.
Some final takeaways from this experience: putting the project in, connecting it with an actual organization, really grounded my project in a real way, in a real tangible way. And that was really my goal with my decision to actually go into the country, actually focus on an organization. I wanted to really have something that create tools that were really going to affect and support an organization. Of course, I gained a lot from this. I added a lot of technical male skills to my toolbox. I understood the importance of having preliminary work done before a good program evaluation is done. So this is something that we learned in our male class. It really kind of grounded how important it is, a lot of good preliminary work. And by that I mean, again, the strategy, the program strategy, the theory of change, the log framework. It really gave me a strong understanding of all the work that must be done before you actually even do an evaluation. I think it's really important to keep in mind that Mel must have a cultural awareness and must have a human connection. Doing evaluation, doing monitoring on programs is great, but without the cultural nuances, the cultural understanding of the setting that you're in, of the context, you will fall short in the research that you're doing and the monitoring and the evaluation that you're doing, I really learned that male is very messy and it's very time consuming. Trying to monitor an activity with humans is not going to be perfect. Of course, you're going to do the best job you can, but it's messy because you're working with humans. It's not clear cut. It's not just data sets. You're working with people. You're working with children, with girls. And so things are not going to be as clear cut. I guess another example is like if you want to do a pre and post test. The messy part of that is that maybe people don't know how to read or write. Maybe people, your participants, they might not answer the full questionnaire. Maybe they won't answer anything. What I really got from this is that with the use of proxies, with the use of surveys and focus groups and pre and post test and artwork to get feedback, etc. With the use of these proxies, male practitioners are trying to understand the human experience and the human interaction, which is really difficult to bottle up. I really understood this when I was looking at how do you measure safe spaces. I talked about that earlier. How do you bottle up? How do you put in data safe spaces that the girls are experiencing, that the organization is doing? How do you do that? How do you bottle it up? That's the challenge. That's what male practitioners do. That's why we choose to go into male, because we want to work on this challenge. Personally, the founder and I added another layer to our friendship and our shared interest in girls and women's rights. And yeah, I would be happy to continue doing these types of male assessments with organizations. Any organization that I would like to work with me, I'm happy to do it. So yeah, that's kind of the final takeaways from this project. So I hope that this was interesting and helpful for anyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming to the end of this video.